Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Mark Marquette. We're so glad you're with us to stay curious today. I am in the middle of the San Gabriel Mountains here, east of Los Angeles, and not too far from where Doug Forrest, I think, is working real feverishly hard on his after his lunch break there. Hi, Doug. But what you're looking at here is the Jet Propulsion Lab. Happy 86th birthday to JPL. And if you're fans of the Big Bang Theory sitcom, this is where those nerds did all their fun and lived around here. And we're going to talk about the birthday and JPL and some of its accomplishments today on Stay Curious. Also, we're going to kick off the Shuttles of June. It's June 1st, everybody. Where did May go? Oh my gosh, the puffy blue skies, puffy white clouds in those blue skies. So we're going to down here in Florida, June 1st means the beginning of the hurricane season, but we're going to have some beautiful weather here and hope you're enjoying a wonderful June day wherever you're watching. Stay curious. We're going to also kick off the Shuttles of June. There's 11 of them. Quite interesting juxtaposition of shuttles launched in June. And we're going to recap a little bit about the Unidentified Anomalous Phenomenon committee that met under the auspices of NASA yesterday and kind of follow up 5 major things that come out of that. And so we're going to enjoy at the end a poem that I found about Aquarius, the life-saving lifeboat of Apollo 13, though that was an April event. I just happened to find it cleaning up some stuff around here in our studio. If you've been in our studio, which is my office, you probably know there, MarQ, that no matter where you pick or grab something, there could be some space history right at your fingertips. And I found a cool little poem written by a lunar module worker that Marty Winkle was. Hi, Marty. Marty worked on that lunar module Aquarius that was so amazing on getting that crew back. Marty, we're up to episode 827, something like that. How are you today, my friend, and who's watching today?
Well, I'm doing good, Mark. So far we got Doug Forrest is watching, and Chris Callie, Carlton Bailey, Tom Usiak, and Cynthia Rossi.
All right. All of our stellar observers that are really supporting Stay Curious and the American Space Museum. You're going to enjoy the little details about Jet Propulsion Lab that they say is in Pasadena, California, but it really isn't. So stay curious about that, where that's located. And Chris Callie, let's put Gino on a beer can, Marty. We are campaigning with Two Roads Brewing Company. They're at the bottom. They're having a competition of there's about 15 to 20 artists there that have put their work up there, including Chris Callie, our partner. And this is the image that he's chosen to put on a beer can at this microbrewery called Two Roads Brewing in the Connecticut area. So I voted already today. Marty, I know you voted. Marty told me there was over 1,000 votes for his there. We just had a anomaly happen there. So if you're seeing me, okay. Hey, in and out there, the picture went. Don't know if that happened with you, but we had a little flash out there. Don't know if the weather's kicked up, Marty, but we're not going to touch any keys for a minute, huh?
Right.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, Chris Callie's beer statement here is, where will the future take us? Come join in the exploration of the infinite possibilities of our universe. Lives intersect, thoughts diverge, as humankind is poised to return to the moon and beyond, blast off on the ultimate road less traveled, and that is this Two Roads Brewing Company there. And yes, I'm seeing that we're having our anomalies that can knock us off here. So what, you got the CPU rate going there, Marty?
No, that's what happened. I put that back on again, and it just blanked out, and we got this problem.
Okay.
It's one of those keys we hit that can cause it.
Well, we're going to tell you a little bit about some news that we can't take Chris Callie's face off there, or his beautiful Gene Cernan on Apollo 17. until we get our little computer thing that is just acting up like crazy here in our studio. You don't see it live over there, but if we hit a key, it'll probably make us go off air. So until this catches up, we're going to let you know that this is a big day on the Space Coast, as Patrick Air Force Base was selected by the Department of Air Force to be the host location for STARCOM, Space Training and Readiness Command Headquarters. All right, this is a big deal. Our Space Force soldiers are called Guardians, and they're going to be trained here at Patrick Space Force, just down the road from the American Space Museum. STARCOM is one of 3 U.S. Space Force field commands. It is responsible for the deliberate development, education, and training of space professionals, in addition to the development of space warfighting doctrine, tactics, techniques, and procedures, and the operational test and evaluation of Space Force systems. So it is the hub for our fighting forces. There are going to be 3 other locations, well, 2 other locations called Deltas. Space Delta 10, responsible for doctrine and wargaming, will be at Patrick Air Force Base or Space Force Base. Delta 11 will be at Kirkland Air Force Base, and Delta 12 will be located at Shriver Space Force Base in Colorado. Kirkland is in New Mexico. So this was an ongoing investigation. The decision to host STARCOM headquarters here on the Florida Space Coast was involved in a survey of each location with their infrastructure, how they could carry out this task for America's newest division of our armed forces, the Space Force. So this is exciting news, and everybody in the area applauds this. Of course, it'll mean more people moving here to work with the Space Force, but and they're going to be involved with the ultimate training and readiness of our Space Force Guardians. So that's good news here on the Space Course. So, well, behind me here is the Jet Propulsion Lab, founded June 1st, 1937, 86 years old today. It was a group of Caltech rocket students who formed a research project on June 1st, 1937, from which sprung NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab, which is, of course, the nerve center of interplanetary spacecraft, and, as I said earlier, the setting for the popular TV comedy series The Big Bang Theory. But it is not in Pasadena, California, as most media report. It is actually in, and I got to get this right, La Canada Flint Ridge. All right. Some of the buildings were constructed and land bought from the city of Pasadena. Subsequent buildings were constructed in the neighboring unincorporated land that later become La Canada Flint Ridge. 177 acres on the federal government-owned property makes up the campus. Despite that it's actually in La Canada Flint Ridge, it still uses a Pasadena address. And the rivalries between the two cities over who should claim the laboratory there. You can visit, tours there. And, oh, we fixed up, Marty?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's look at the, go to the Space Force. Just show you that there's their webpage there. On there, we got a comment. Go ahead, Marty.
Yeah, Doug Forrest says it's pronounced La Cañada, if I pronounced it right.
La Canada, Flint Ridge.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Spelled with a wavy line over the end. So, and that's not too far from you, Doug, I think you said, just literally a couple miles away. There's the iconic Jet Propulsion Lab logo. You can argue that's as iconic as the NASA meatball and the worm logo around the world. And there's the picture we put behind there. Back in the 1970s, they were promoting, when you were a kid, science fiction gave you a sense of wonder. Now you feel the same by just going to work. So Jet Propulsion Lab was asking for people to apply to be engineers. The typical Jet Propulsion Lab system engineer today makes around $108,000 a year. Salaries range from $80,000 to $200,000. And there's free tours to individual groups. You can see such things as the replicas for the that is the 3 generations of rovers on Mars. Of course, that is Sojourner, the little microwave-sized rover. Then you've got the Mars excursion rovers, Spirit and Opportunity, were identical there. And then you've got the Mars rovers that are the SUV size. Curiosity has been on Mars for over 5 years and we're proud of. Go from the Mars landings to how about the Mars helicopter Ingenuity that's outperforming. It's done 50 flights and was only supposed to do 5. You've got the Juno spacecraft that's orbiting Jupiter right now. You've got a lot of satellites that are Earth-oriented that are studying the climate change and you know, putting together the directorate, what we need to do to help our Earth. And the forthcoming Psychic Comet Orbiter is one that we're looking forward to having. So JPL has touched alien worlds in our solar system. And this is one of the things about the new NASA UAP, Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon or Anomalous Phenomenon, is these, they're going to use data and sensors that JPL has pioneered on spacecraft to try to figure out what these less than 1% of the objects, they can't figure out what they are. So happy 86th birthday to the Jet Propulsion Lab out there. So also launched today was the target vehicle for Gemini 9 in 1966, okay? So 57 years ago, we launched the Atlas Augmented Target Docking Adapter that Gemini 9 was going to be launched 90 minutes later and go dock with it. Well, it was postponed by ground equipment failure. They couldn't get data up to the augmented adapter, the ATDA, and so they delayed the 48-hour plan. We're going to talk about this Monday with Nick Thomas, show you a picture of Nick in a minute. When the astronauts got up there, they saw that a shroud had not properly gone off. That was somebody's mistake here on the ground, and so they couldn't dock with it. This was Gemini 9 that had Tom Stafford and Gene Cernan. They were the backups of this crew, as Elliot C. and Charles Bassett were killed in a jet crash that they crashed into the McDonald building in St. Louis where the Gemini spacecraft were being built. So a lot of twists of fates at Gemini 9. We're going to talk about that with this man. On Monday, Mr. Nick Thomas shown there with Wendy Lawrence, nicknamed Too Short, as they went out to visit the Artemis pad a year ago. So you're going to enjoy a lot of personal stories about Gene Cernan and the General Tom Stafford from this man, Nick Thomas. And we're also going to talk about GT4, the, of course, McDivitt White mission, where Ed White did the spacewalk. They were launched on the same date in space history, on June 3rd. Well, we've got all these shuttles of the month of June to celebrate this month. And boy, are there some very interesting ones here. We've got the Alpha and the Omega missions to Mir, the first and the last missions, okay? Which would be 71 and 91 there. Let's see, 71 is the last launch of the month, and then 91 is up there. They're kind of reversed to how they went. But yes, we're going to celebrate on June 2nd the launch of STS-92, the last mission to Mir with a NASA astronaut. We've got the last two-man mission of any spacecraft, STS-4 there. With Mattingly and Hartsfield in 1982. That's the last time NASA launched just 2 humans in space, way back there at 82. The first American female, of course, is going to be launched on STS-8. Where is it up there? Or STS-7, I mean. in 1983, there in the middle left. You've got 68 people can say they went to space, and 9 of those were women. All right. So that is a big, there were 2 women that repeated. Fabian went up twice, John Fabian, and Baker and Dunbar were the women who orbited the Earth twice in the month of June. So we'll be talking about these. The shuttles, 11 shuttles included 1 flight by Challenger, 4 by Columbia. Discovery had 2, Atlantis 2, and of course Endeavour had 2 flights there. So Columbia ended up being the most of its flights in the month of June. So we're going to highlight those throughout the month, and you're going to enjoy learning not just about the missions themselves, but about some history about the astronauts, as we love juxtaposing our timeline there to show you kind of what time, well, let's see here in about the 22nd, we're going to have STS 117, 51G, 7, 8, and 57 could all say they were orbiting the Earth at the same time. So I like charts like these to kind of put in perspective different eras of time, different decades, and what was going on. We also had the first Saudi prince go into orbit in the month of June. So all kinds of cool things to talk about as we get into the month of June. We wanted to let everybody know that we are, let's see, what's up next here? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Now, here's our NASA UFO talk here. NASA created a 16-person panel, task force, if you will, to seriously look at the unidentified anomalous phenomenon. American authorities have examined around 800 mysterious reports of unidentified flying objects collected over decades, but only a small fraction are truly unexplained. So NASA set a panel up last year to explain its work on what it calls unidentified anomalous phenomenon. All right. And we have a comment, Marty, already.
Yeah, we got a comment from Carlton Bailey. He says, Bob and Doug launched on a Falcon 9, so they would have been the last 2-member crews that was launched by NASA.
Okay, he's disputing that STS-4 was the last 2-man crew, but it is, Carlton, because they were NASA commercial astronauts on a private spacecraft. So that was a 2-man mission on a private spacecraft, not a NASA spacecraft. So, but thank you for that correction there, Carlton. Always want to be technically right, and he's right. That was the last 2-man flight, was Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley on Demo 2 3 years ago, just last week, which I didn't see much in the newspapers about. So, well, all right, back to the UFOs. All right, unidentified anomalous is a word that they're saying cannot be identified as aircraft or known natural phenomenon from a scientific perspective. All right, the panel held its first public meeting Wednesday. Here are the 5 takeaways. 1, many sightings can be explained, all right, and a small percentage, like 2 to 5% of the total database, are anomalous, all right. And number 2, privacy limits don't allow NASA to investigate as thoroughly as they may want to. Like, people don't like it when we're pointing satellites in your backyard, all right, type of thing. So there are sensitive areas that maybe publicly they can't set up whatever they want to set up to try to figure out what these phenomena are. But this is a concern by the agency's investigation. They want to also use all of the NASA data that's been collected on Earth satellites, interplanetary satellites, for you to look at it as sort of a crowdsourcing thing to see if you can find anything that looks anomalous. Point 3, microwaves and optical illusions, okay? They can see really strange structures, all right? And then all of a sudden, they're figured out to be something that that was a surprise. An example, microwave radio bursts were seen by researchers in Australia. They were really strange, all right? They couldn't figure out what was going on, and it always happened around lunchtime. But what was happening was these sensitive instruments that they thought were picking up microwaves from outer space were in fact picking up microwaves from the lunches that workers were heating up, all right? Then Scott Kelly, astronaut who's on this panel, said that he and his co-pilot were flying near Virginia Beach. His colleague was convinced we flew by a UFO. Scott Kelly said, I didn't see it. We turned around, and when we looked at it, it turned out it was a hot air balloon of Bart Simpson. Okay. So a lot of things at first, once you investigate them, are found out to be other things, and that's fine. Those that aren't figured out to be other things go in the anomalous pile, and then they get a database on that. The fourth thing to take away is stigma and harassment hamper the research of this, what is now called a national security threat. If we cannot figure out what these anomalous objects are, then they do pose a threat to national security. That's where the Department of Defense was involved in it, and then the Federal Aviation Association. NASA's trying to take some of that burden off of them by using a scientific investigative approach. So harassment only leads to further stigmatism in the UAP field, and they don't want this to hinder the scientific progress. And then the fifth thing is NASA is heralding a new era of transparency for this phenomenon that has been around since the 60s, where all kinds of UFO conspiracies, all kinds of Area 51, the Roswell aliens, all these things, we want to believe those things as UFO researchers and the casual investigator or casual observer like myself. As I said yesterday, my library of UFO books was over 50 at one time, and I proudly read all of them, and all, you just come up, you just keep scratching your head. You just wish one of these aliens would just come up and say, hey, let me lay down and you can analyze everything about me. We came in peace. But the transparency is why they've changed it from unidentified flying objects to unidentified and anomalous phenomenon, okay? To kind of get away from the UFO stigma. UAP has a scientific approach, and again, we seem to be rewriting every aspect of society today, so why not give a refresh to this phenomenon that, yes, there's objects that are defying the laws of science, gravity. If there were creatures inside, they couldn't survive because of the going Mach 2 and then stopping and then going another direction. Things that conventional aircraft, as we know them, that belong to the superpowers of the world, they don't act like that. So new era of transparency, stigma and harassment, they hope does not temper the research. We know there's a lot of optical illusions out there that could be anomalous. Privacy concerns, as NASA digs deeper into this, they're going to respect your backyard, for example. And many sightings can be explained, but that less than 2% that can't is what they're focusing on. So good luck with that, and there'll be a report in about July of some of the findings. This committee is not tasked to explain the unidentified air anomalous phenomenon, but they're tasked to present all of the data for basically the world to analyze. And this is just what we're doing in America. This, of course, is a phenomenon around the world. Well, let's don't forget that we have these human beings in space right now. The official Expedition 69 crew photograph there, Marty. And you know how crazy I am, Marty, about space, or I wouldn't be doing this, what we're doing today. And how ironic it is for me that I am age 69 as Expedition 69 is going on into International Space Station. 69 crews. All right, started with Sergei Kirkorov and Bill Shepard, I believe. The official 69 crew portrait is from left to right, Frank Rubio from NASA. and he may be up there for longer than a year. Dmitry Petlin is from, of course, Roscosmos. He's next in line. Sultan Al Nieda from the United Arab Emirates. Then you got in the center there, the tallest guy is Woody Hoberg. Then you got Steve Bowen. Woody's a rookie. Steve Bowen is an experienced shuttle pilot. He actually was 32 and 33, the only astronaut to go back-to-back. Maybe it's 33 and 34, but I'm pretty sure he went back-to-back on the 2 of the last 5 shuttles. Andrei Fedyev of Roscosmos is next, and the commander of Expedition 69 is Sergei Porkalev there, a Russian. So we've got 3 Russians, 3 Americans, and the United Arab Emirates astronaut up there. And we cannot forget, we got 7 and 6 Chinese tachionauts. That makes 13 humans orbiting the Earth. We had a record Monday of 17 until the Axiom 2 crew of 4 landed safely. But this is the Chinese released this photograph of their 6 tachionauts up there. The one of the gentlemen that just came up there, this is his 4th trip, the most experienced cosmonaut or tachyonaut. I'm looking for who's got the most gray hair, Marty, in there. I think he's back left. And this includes the first Chinese civilian tachyonaut, which means star traveler, as does cosmonaut, as does astronaut. So we wish them well. The 3 of them will be coming back maybe this weekend, as early as this weekend. And their heavenly palace is what they call their space station there. That is fresh and brand new as of this year, and they expect it to be up there for 15 years, Marty. So, well, a little something extra as I was cleaning up my cubby holes around here and putting some swag together to hand you all when you come and see me here at the American Space Museum. Maybe you'll want to see Marty. But I came up with a poem called Ode to Aquarius, all right, about the Lunar Module 6 that saved the life of Jim Lovell, Jack Swigert, and Fred Hayes, all right. And I thought it was kind of appropriate to go out with that today, though the anniversary of the crew landing is April 17th, 1970. Bill Whiting knows that as he's watching today. We got Dave Stange watching, Robert Law, Hazel Banks, hi Hayes, and Fox McCloud. So I hope you will indulge me as I put an image up there of the of Odyssey. Aquarius. Odyssey is the command module. Its location is at the Cosmosphere in Hutchinson, Kansas, where I've been lucky to be there. And this is as it receded away, and written on there is our lifeboat. Thanks again, by Fred Hayes wrote that up there in the upper left corner. As Aquarius was, as it disembarked, it was undocked, and it ended up crashing in the Pacific Ocean. So pieces and parts of it are in the Pacific Ocean, and that was lunar module number 7, right, Marty? LM7. And it was just a fabulous machine. They had to use its engines to make the correct, to get them out of moon orbit, as well as several corrections. That engine was only to be used for the landing on the moon. So amazing. Well, this is by Robert Hamilton. He wrote this poem April 17th, 1970, Ode to Aquarius. From a factory on Long Island came a spacecraft of a new breed. She served our country's astronauts in their time of greatest need. They call her name Aquarius, and she was a sight to behold, a 4-legged bird with 3 eyes and a mouth, and her skin was black and gold. Her target was Fromero, but she never landed there, for the Odyssey had a problem, and soon the whole world was aware. For the next 4 days, 3 lives, astronauts clung to her for their lives as they made their way back to Mother Earth, to families, friends, and wives. 3 times her descent engine fired. 3 times we heard good burn. And the whole world watched and waited and prayed for the astronauts' safe return. As they drained the lifeblood from her, she never complained once. And they knew at the end of the journey that not much would remain. Farewell, Aquarius, we thank you. That was their parting salute as they transferred to the Odyssey with its heat shield and parachutes. Then the Odyssey re-entered safely, and the whole world watched and cheered. But no one watched Aquarius, as she was crumpled, torn, and seared. Now she lies at the bottom of the ocean with a smile upon her face. We wish she were in the Hall of Fame, for she surely earned her place. Now we'll get another spacecraft and perhaps a different crew, and we'll go back to Fromero and other places too. For man has a thirst for knowledge to try to learn something new. I hope we never stop trying. God help us if we do. And thank you, Robert L. Hamilton, for that ode to Aquarius on this 1st of June. That's always fresh in our mind, Marty, is Fred Hayes has been a great friend of our American Space Museum, and also your friend Marty at your reunions at Crummie's. I finally had their final one a month ago, as sad as that was. So, well, we hope that everybody enjoyed this issue of Stay Curious. We want you to put Gino on a beer can. All right, if you haven't voted, vote every day until June 5th. Let's get Chris Callie's artwork on a beer can, and he would pocket $1,000. And a whole bunch of worldwide fame with that, and have a beer or two on Gino, who passed away a couple years ago. So, Marty, thank you for hanging in there on the Streamlabs jobs today, as we're there again at the San Gabriel Mountains, Pasadena, California, or what they correctly call, what was I corrected that they called that? La Canada. Is the town that it's actually in. So, anything else to button up there, Marty?
Nope, we're good.
All right, we appreciate you. Tomorrow will be Friday in this short week, so we're going to feature Future Fridays. I got a few items in the news picked out about the future, and we will then start efforting more guests on Stay Curious. We had a little anomaly today, but we're going to have to sit through those, I guess, till we figure out what it is. So, well, we hope everybody's enjoyed this edition of Stay Curious, and we can't wait for you to come back tomorrow and enjoy our Future Fridays. Until then, I'm Mark Marquette saying we can't wait to see you inside our museum to bridge the space between us.